All right, so in other news today, we are going to cover a sideline topic. I know there's a lot of questions around bloodlines, especially right now, so we're going to just speak very plainly about it. So, we'll give you a little bit of an overview per Popular Sciences magazine. So, uh, 85% of humans have a direct corresponding genome to the apehood ancestors. So that means that the positive blood group is a direct assimilation of the rhesus macaque, right? Or the ape man, if you will. So that's 85%. Whereas there's only 15%, and that was actually the highest number, and that has been since reduced to around 11% of those who do not possess the monkey gene, right? So the monkey gene are, putting aside theological terms, but giving you the explanation of why they coincide with one another. So when Inky, right, took the ape species and genetically altered it to be an image of what's called the pure human, right, or the divine bloodline, it was altered. So as the slave species basically exploded in population, this is also why the Rh positives, by not only spiritual but also in physical, why it is deemed inappropriate or an abomination. So it is an abomination for a positive blood type to conceive or attempt to conceive child with a negative. So if one is a negative blood, an O negative, they should only bear children with a likewise O negative. That is maintaining the royal line. When you, father or mother, anyway, if you're going to one to the other, you're actually interspecies mating. You're doing what the fallen angels did originally. They were the O negative. They possessed the divine seed, and it was not corrupted. So they had full power on earth as governors, as kings and gods. When they fell, it was because they took to the flesh. They could not understand why they should not mix their seed if they looked the same or if their bodies felt the same. But in fact, it is a physical genetic abomination because then you have spread seed that is not fully holy or compatible. So, in the physical sense of the term, if a female is Rh negative O and a male is Rh positive of any group, the fetus inside the O negative mother will actually die. The O negative mother's body will refuse that seed and will attempt to kill it. Now, depending on how strong the O negative is, without medical intervention, again, it can kill that fetus. So it would require in a modern time to have medical intervention. That way the fetus could survive the essentially the O negative mother trying to kill it because it looks at it as a foreign object. Whereas if you have both parents that are Rho negative, like me and the missus, then you get essentially a Cameron, and then that is considered a pure bloodline, and then it actually gets stronger from that point. So when Cameron selects his future wife, he will also pursue an Rh negative O woman. So now, again, this is Popular Science magazine, so I'll just read the excerpt. Again, 85% of humans have the monkey gene, Rh positive, 15% do not, Rh negative, and Rh negative people are characterized by higher IQ, sensitive vision, lower body temperature, sensitive to heat, sunlight, psychic power, ability to stop watches, electrical appliances, having extra vertebrae, The concept explores the possibility that positives were bred as a slave race for labor, since 97% of the Earth's genetic code is disabled, with less than 3% of O negatives. So popular science's endeavors to attribute Rh negative blood groups to mutations, a solid alternative case may be extended to the conclusion that Rh negative is not actually a mutation, but the original human blood group. This, however, does not reflect a tenured thought, as it cannot be adequately researched. The potential of a group of pure humans that are not related directly to the evolutionary process on Earth is a possibility. The reasoning suggests that the original humans on the planet were not directly related to apes, but at some point were made or genetically engineered. And perhaps it was never intended that Rh positives became the dominant species, that through some as yet undermined epoch, the genetically impure group gradually became the controlling species, except for several remote enclaves initiated a wide-ranging genocidal program, effectively wiping out those who gave birth to them. All of which begs the questions: what reasons were the subspecies created? What was the process of conquest? And what was the duration? And does it continue? So if you think about layers, so you're Rh positive, right? They're directly tied to the ape. And the ape, before it was enlightened or given a soul, right? So again, that's a tampering of the fallen ones, tampering with mankind because they wanted their own creation, where it's just like with every type of situation, when you have the abomination, right, it explodes, just like the roaches, right? They explode into a home and it's an infestation. And they're all very like-minded. Many of them are the slave-minded, right? They're the ones that are ineligible for souls or spirits. Thus, they are required to have direct intervention by the divine to actually get them to another realm, or in essence, when they die as a flower dies in the field, right? That's it for those guys. Likewise, your Rh negative, your O particularly, that is the royal blue line, right? So when we're talking about the heavenly royal family, like that is where it comes from. That is where it comes from myself, right? But not only that, so we'll kind of go back to popular mechanics. So a few tidbits about the blood groups. In all blood groups, there exists a common microbe that in essence is the life force itself. During experiments that our team conducted, we heated the blood to 700 degrees Fahrenheit and also put it in liquid nitrogen. This microbe, which is visible only with a highly modified dark field microscope, was custom built for us, was still alive. We have also tested this on mummy dust. This microbe is still alive after 5,000 years, plus when the mummy dust is placed in a pH perfect solution, the same as the live blood, it returns back to life. So remember when I told you guys, very, very beginning, the resurrected Christ was an O negative Rh. The blood, the literal blood, can be brought back to life, which is the life force, right, that is required to be given amongst men that choose the life. I don't know who that is. Bill Collector. Okay. So a little slanderous in the article because they're dubbing it draconian blood or reptilian, but just per the article's sake, I'll keep it intact. The reptilian blood with the O negative factor has unique properties because of the polarity of the blood cells. Blood is electrically, magnetic, and chemical based. The relationship of all three must be kept at a specific pH balance of 7.0 to 7.2. So 7 as the holy number, right? As the number of perfection. The problem with the ORH systems, the stomach has too much acid for proper digestion. So they had to resort to taking the trace mineral in through the skin, sitting in a bathtub full of minerals. Then, after generations of this type of eating, the digestive system ceases to function properly. This is why O blood groups have so much trouble with indigestion. It is in your genes because of the Draco influence. Let's see. Do not ever take blood transfusions. The main reason for this has to do with cellular, genetic, and galactic memory of blood. This is coded into the entire structure of the blood. All the emotions that the donor has felt during his lifetime are a part of the blood. This cannot be filtered out. For example, if you get a heart of a man who died in a car accident, all the cells of that organ have the memory of the accident and every emotion that was felt while dying. These emotions confuse your own coding, and then mass eternal confusion happens at a cellular level, and the order turns into chaos. And it jokes in the article saying no shrink at $100 per hour is going to fix that ever. Uh, and it kind of goes on and on, but in summary, so that's a very physical representation of also something in the spiritual, right? So if someone has the physical mechanics, right, you have that O negative RH blood, then you essentially can be given a spirit without having to do anything. That doesn't fix your personality, right? And if you're just a POS, then you're not getting one anyway. Or if you already have one, then you're going to be limited, right? So a lot of the spiritual mediums and psychics and all these people, right? They wear all these fancy garbs and think they're Buddha. Very possible they're RH negative, but they're gonna have a very limited ability, right? They're gonna be able to kind of float up to the bottom of the floor of the realms, but they're never going to be able to walk in them. They're never going to be able to actually materialize in anything other than the planet Earth unless they are assisted. Or again, versus the positive bloodlines, they require a very direct intervention to get that done. So, sins of the fathers, right? Again, one race of beings versus another race of beings, and then the unholy defiling themselves, their own bloodlines, creating abominations. And again, even physically, right? The body wants to kill the OH negative body, wants to kill off a positive fetus because it doesn't recognize it as an actual fetus. So, not only for safety reasons, that's also why RH negatives should not mate with RH positives. Like, I don't even know what happened, but 25 years ago, they used to require a blood test for these things. So it was an actual conversation that people had. But again, RH negatives were so few and far in between that they stopped doing it because the masses are RH positive. And to the devil himself, right, the prince of lies, he wants to mix the bloodlines. He wants to mix all the races. And so there's one brown color, and all those who possess divine blood, it gets lost through mutations, right? Because now chemical medical is able to save the life of the fetus. Well, that fetus, right, if the body is saying it's being rejected, but then due to man's chemical and genome interference, it's making something that was not supposed to be happen anyway. This is the interference of mankind. These are abominations. These are sins. Do you see how taking something you think is good, but by continuing to do it, it is wrong? It is against the holy. It is against evolution and the fact that the RH positives were never supposed to mate with RH negatives. So hopefully that can clear up that for some people. Maybe I'll do another video where it's a little cleaner, but I am kind of coming off the heels off of a judgment, so a little flustered, but hopefully that helps.